Have you ever watched two people fall in love and wondered what actually happened in that moment? It probably wasn't the flowers, expensive dinners, or dramatic romantic gestures people love to showcase online. More often, it was something much smaller, something so subtle that almost everyone overlooks it. For decades, psychologists have studied attachment, emotional bonding, trust, and human connection. Their findings reveal something that surprises many people: the behaviors that create the strongest bonds are rarely dramatic or attention-grabbing. They're usually quiet, simple, and almost impossible to notice. They can happen in a fraction of a second during an ordinary conversation. Nobody plans them. Nobody records them. Nobody performs them for an audience. Yet the human nervous system recognizes them. The brain picks up on these tiny signals and begins forming an impression: I feel safe with this person. There's something different about them. They matter to me. Today, we are going to talk about 7 of these gestures. 7 small, almost invisible behaviors that create powerful emotional reactions in the people who receive them. But stay with me, because gesture number 4 is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most powerful one on this whole list. The one that quietly separates relationships that fade from relationships that last for many years. Let's get started. The first gesture is something researchers call sustained, relaxed eye contact. Not staring. There is a major difference, and your nervous system recognizes it almost instantly. We are not talking about the intense, unbroken gaze often exaggerated in movies, the kind that can make real people uncomfortable and cause the brain to interpret the interaction as threatening rather than intimate. Instead, imagine gentle eye contact that lasts just a fraction longer than usual, accompanied by a natural softness around the eyes. It communicates something simple and powerful: I'm completely here with you, and I'm comfortable allowing you to see me, too. A prolonged stare can activate the brain's threat detection mechanisms. It is similar to the uncomfortable feeling you get when a stranger keeps looking directly at you for too long in a crowded train or an elevator. Relaxed eye contact sends an entirely different message. Rather than putting the nervous system on alert, it can create a sense of calm, presence, and connection. Research into attachment, bonding, and nonverbal communication has repeatedly demonstrated the importance of meaningful eye contact in creating interpersonal closeness. Think about the last time you were talking to someone who genuinely looked at you while you spoke. They weren't checking their phone every few seconds. They weren't looking over your shoulder or scanning the room as though they were waiting for something more interesting to happen. They were simply there. Their attention was on you. Their body was relaxed. They weren't rushing you. You probably noticed that it felt different. Even if the conversation itself was completely ordinary, their attention may have made you feel important in that particular moment. That feeling doesn't happen by accident. And the behavior isn't rare because it is difficult. It has become rare because genuine, undivided attention has become increasingly uncommon. We live surrounded by notifications, multitasking, interruptions, and conversations where people are only half present. Because of that, someone who offers calm and undistracted eye contact can immediately feel unusual. They stand out. They feel present. And that presence can create a sense of emotional safety. The second gesture is remembering small details and bringing them up naturally later, without being prompted or reminded. Imagine mentioning something casually weeks ago, perhaps a food you dislike, a childhood story, a concern you shared briefly, or some small detail from your past that you assumed the other person had forgotten. Then, unexpectedly, they remember it. They bring it up without needing to be reminded. That small moment can communicate something much deeper than the words themselves. Being remembered often makes people feel that they were genuinely heard and valued. When someone retains a small detail and recalls it later, it suggests that what you said mattered enough for them to pay attention. That can be more meaningful than a carefully prepared compliment. Compliments can be sincere, but they can also become predictable or automatic. Remembering something specific requires actual attention. You have to be mentally present when the person says it in the first place. And in a world where so many people are distracted by their phones, their worries, and their own thoughts, that kind of attention has become surprisingly valuable. This is why someone might say, "I mentioned that once weeks ago," and somehow they remembered. The emotional impact comes from more than the fact that they remembered a fact. It communicates, "I was listening when you spoke. I noticed something about you. I cared enough to remember." That is a powerful message. Sometimes holding on to one tiny detail about another person can communicate more affection than a dozen rehearsed compliments ever could. The third gesture is mirroring. This behavior is so subtle that the people doing it often have no idea it is happening. Mirroring occurs when one person naturally begins matching another person's body language, speaking rhythm, tone, facial expressions, or emotional energy. For example, someone may lean forward slightly after you lean forward. They may begin speaking more slowly because you are discussing something serious in a calm voice. Their expression might soften after they notice yours becoming softer. These behaviors can contribute to what psychologists call rapport, the feeling that two people are comfortable, connected, and naturally in sync. The fascinating part is that mirroring often happens without conscious effort. You don't necessarily decide, "I'm going to copy this person's movements." Your brain simply responds to the person in front of you. Neuroscience has explored the role of mirror neuron systems in helping humans understand and respond to other people's actions. Although the science is more complex than the popular explanation sometimes suggests, our brains clearly have mechanisms that help us perceive, imitate, and synchronize with other people. This may be one reason interactions can feel especially comfortable when two people naturally fall into the same rhythm. One person speaks, the other responds. One leans forward, the other follows. One relaxes, and the other seems to relax too. It can create the quiet impression that you are both operating on the same wavelength. Neither person may be able to explain exactly why the interaction feels so natural, but something about the rhythm simply works. The fourth gesture is emotional steadiness, which psychologists often describe as being a calm and grounding presence in someone else's life. It means remaining composed, warm, and emotionally balanced when things become stressful, uncertain, uncomfortable, or tense, instead of immediately responding with panic, defensiveness, anger, or emotional instability. There is a powerful psychological reason this quality matters so much. At a deeply instinctive level, human beings naturally seek safety, stability, and predictability, particularly within their closest relationships. When someone reacts to conflict, difficult news, or unexpected pressure with panic or aggression, that reaction can trigger stress in everyone around them. One person's emotional reaction can quickly become another person's emotional reaction. Steadiness works in the opposite direction. When someone remains calm, listens before reacting, and continues communicating with warmth even during disagreement, they send a powerful message to the other person's nervous system. You can bring your problems to me. I won't collapse under the pressure, and I won't make a difficult situation even harder. That kind of emotional safety is incredibly valuable because most people were never properly taught how to regulate their emotions. Many simply learn to react automatically instead of pausing and responding thoughtfully. So, when someone repeatedly experiences genuine calmness and stability from another person, particularly during difficult or vulnerable moments, it can create a level of trust that lasts far longer than any expensive gift or dramatic romantic gesture. The fifth gesture is casual physical touch that happens naturally, without being planned as a romantic move. Intentional romantic contact, such as holding hands or sharing a planned embrace, is already expected in a romantic relationship. The brain recognizes it as a normal part of that interaction. It can still be meaningful, but it does not contain the same element of spontaneity. Small, natural touches are different. A hand briefly touching someone's shoulder while laughing, an arm gently brushing against theirs while reaching for something, or another moment of effortless physical contact can communicate something entirely different because it happens spontaneously rather than feeling staged or calculated. Research into human touch and bonding has linked appropriate, non-sexual physical contact with the release of oxytocin and reductions in cortisol, helping create feelings of comfort and connection. The message is subtle but powerful: I feel comfortable around you. I'm familiar with you. I enjoy being close to you. This helps explain why attraction sometimes develops gradually, almost unnoticed. It is not always created by one unforgettable romantic moment. Often, it grows through hundreds of tiny interactions that seem insignificant individually but become meaningful when experienced together. The sixth gesture is asking sincere questions and genuinely listening to the answers. True listening means giving someone your complete attention while they speak. It means putting aside your phone, resisting the urge to prepare your next response, and allowing your own unrelated thoughts to quiet down long enough to actually understand what the other person is saying. When someone receives that kind of undivided attention, something important happens psychologically. They experience what researchers call felt understanding, the deep sense that another person genuinely sees them, hears them, and understands what they are trying to communicate. That experience is a powerful foundation for emotional intimacy in romantic relationships, friendships, and even family connections. And here is what makes it especially fascinating: people can usually sense the difference between someone who is merely pretending to listen and someone who is genuinely present, even when they cannot explain exactly how they know. It shows up in the rhythm of the conversation, the relevance of follow-up questions, facial expressions, eye contact, and the way the listener responds to what was actually said instead of simply waiting for their turn to speak. True attention becomes even more meaningful in a world where conversations are often rushed, interrupted, and filled with distractions. The seventh and final gesture is consistency over time, sometimes described as the reliability of warmth. It is the practice of showing up with the same genuine care, attention, and kindness repeatedly, not just during exciting moments or memorable occasions, but during ordinary days that seem completely insignificant. Almost anyone can be attentive and affectionate during a first date, a celebration, or a special moment when everything feels exciting and everyone is trying to make a good impression. But lasting emotional connection is built by what happens afterward. Does that same warmth remain on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon? Does it survive an exhausting week? Does it still exist when life becomes stressful, the excitement fades, and there is no audience watching? Does someone continue making an effort when there is absolutely nothing to gain from doing so? That is where genuine connection separates itself from temporary attraction. Deep bonds are rarely created by one spectacular gesture. They are built through repeated experiences of safety, attention, affection, understanding, and reliability until the other person no longer has to wonder whether that warmth will still be there tomorrow.